This is my daughter and most of her pets. Her pantry didn't have doors, and these guys were able to basically help themselves.
Look at all of them looking at you.
Hey, stupid Tempest.
Oh, yeah.
Getting doors on this pantry was long overdue. All right, first thing we're gonna do is cut down some of these 1x4 pieces of pine to make the sides of the door. I think they're called the sides? I don't know, maybe it's side rails. Anyway, we're gonna cut those down to 78 inches. We have 4 of them, so let's do that now. I didn't have a solid plan here, just some measurements and the idea to make these panel doors with glass as the top panel. And I'm cutting down these stiles first. I really couldn't think of the right terminology at the time for some reason when the camera was on. But I'm cutting them down to just 78 inches, which is about an inch less than the height of the door opening. These pantry doors are going to be 15 inches wide, so I'll be able to use the 18 inches of offcut from these 8-foot boards later in the project. And next up from our scrap, we're using those cutoffs and making the little center pieces. These are going to be the horizontal pieces that go in the middle. One on the top, one on the bottom, one in the middle for each door. I think they're called the stiles, maybe. That's what we're doing now. This is the look we're going for here. Just a 15-inch door, 15 inches wide here, and standard door length. And it's going to have the two stiles here on either end. Looks starting to look like more of a shutter because it's long and thin. But I did make one quick mistake. I made these the actual width in between, but I want to do some kind of a half lap joint to make this more secure. So thankfully I bought one too many boards and cut these down to, let's see, we're gonna try to figure out some way to do a half lap joint here to pull this all together, make it nice and strong. And then we're gonna have 2 panels in here. One that's gonna be a wooden panel that's gonna be painted, and then the other panel is gonna be a frosted glass because these are going to be for a pantry. I want to be able to see the light coming through. And yeah, we'll see how it turns out. There's the plexiglass over there. That stuff's expensive. I just cobbled together this very professional looking sled here with all the clamps and all the stop blocks and everything. So what I'm planning to do here is just have a half lap joint. It's going to look like this. So I gotta cut out half of each board so that they fit together and overlap each other, half lap. And got the saw all dialed in here. These are just a couple scrap pieces. Now I'm going to go to those longer pieces and just run them through on each end. And then the long pieces that'll be the sides of the door will be going through on each end too, just about 5,000 passes through here, and it only should take me about 2 or 3 hours. Apparently I didn't turn on the camera during those 2 to 3 hours on the table saw, but I did capture a similar process with the circular saw on the stiles. I'm taking dozens of passes to remove half of the thickness of the boards where they will be half lapped. I cleared away most of the material with the saw, then cleaned up the rest with a hammer and chisel. So here's where I'm at so far. I used a circular saw to kind of hog out these longer pieces. They were too long to be able to go across the table saw. So I used the circular saw to cut through all of those. That took forever. It was tough on the wrist and the arm. But we got through it. Now just take those half laps and they sit on top like that, and they'll be glued together like that to form the frame of the doors. But before we do that, we have to go back to the table saw. And I have this little scrap piece dialed in here that I'm gonna cut these dados out on the full perimeter on the insides of the doors here, all the way around in all 4 panels, so that I can fill in with this 1/4 inch sheet plywood on the bottom. And I was gonna use this true 1/4 inch right here, but it turned out to be just a little bit thicker than a 1/4 inch, and I was gonna have to remove a lot of material. So I'm gonna take that back to the store and use this piece instead. This is actually underlayment, I believe, but it's gonna work out real nice. And then we have the plastic over there. So when you take this scrap piece here, it's gonna fit nicely. Well, that's kind of tight, but it's gonna fit pretty snug around the plastic. And then with the underlayment, just slips right on there like that. So that's our next step.
I think I cut those dados about 1 inch deep, and it just took a couple of careful passes on the table saw for each board to get the right thickness. Then it was time to cut the panels, and for the bottom panel, I used the table saw, and well, for the top panels, the plexiglass, I used the table saw as well, which was kind of overkill because this stuff is like plastic cardboard and can be cut with a utility knife with very little effort. But it was fun to watch myself wrestle that 4x8 foot sheet up and onto my little table saw. After I had the panels cut to the width, I used a square and circular saw to cut them down to the length. Since we'll have 2 doors, I need 2 bottom panels and 2 of the plastic panels for the tops. Again, total overkill using a power saw on the plastic.
So here we go with the dry fit. Panels are cut and installed. So what we had to do is just take that groove all the way through on all pieces of the rails there. These will be the back of the doors, so we won't see this overlap here. It'll look cleaner on the other side, but so we just cut those grooves out. We will still see those from the top and bottom, but I mean, there's really no way you're going to be able to tell that those are there because one's going to be on the ground, on the floor, and then the other is going to be at the top above eye level. So the panels just slide into those grooves. There's a blue protection over the plexiglass there, but I think those are going to look really cool, and they have like a corrugated finish to them. That's gonna look real nice. So now I'm just gonna take everything back apart and glue it all together.
I didn't film the glue up or painting the doors, and this finished product footage is actually almost a year old. But we used 3 small hinges per door to hang them to the opening, adding these double roller catches to keep the doors shut. And they were no match for some of the clever cats. I also installed a couple of cabinet handles on the outside. They had to install a second layer of security with that white locking catch across the front, and the doors already need to be repainted. But the animals can no longer help themselves to food and treats in the pantry unless someone forgets to lock the doors. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.